The Policing, Crime, Sentencing and Courts Bill is currently passing through the House of Lords. The bill contains a raft of measures to curtail the right to protest and that attack the way of life of Gypsy, Roma and Traveller communities. After demonstrations, lobbying and direct action, some of the worst successes of the bill were defeated by the House of Lords, but there's still a long way to go to defend the right to protest and kill the bill. Today, I'm catching up with Delia Mattis, who's part of a range of movements to stop the bill from proceeding through Parliament, to talk about the legislation and what we can do to stop it. So, hi, Delia.
Oh,
So, first question for you then. What do you think the government are hoping to achieve with the bill, and why are they going ahead with it? What's the point of it?
what's the point of it? Well, if we look at a couple of years ago, um, a couple of things happened. So we had the BLM uprising, which was global. And what we saw happening across the UK was the same thing that was happening across the world. People were finally being vocal and protesting against systemic and institutional racism. The government hated it, but could do nothing to stop it. And the campaign just kept growing and growing, and everyone was talking about racism. And what also had been happening is Extinction Rebellion and climate justice action that was shutting down London, and the government hated it. And because of the popularity of both campaigns, in a direct response to that was the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill. So that's what it's all about. And before the bill came out, there was all kinds of reports about investigations they were going to do into Black Lives Matter and trying to equate us to a terrorist group. Well, I've not seen the report from that investigation. It would have been laughable if we had seen the report, and I'm sure we would have been protesting on the results of it. But they kind of put that on the back burner and focused on this policing bill. And that's why it's happening.
Yeah, that's super clear. Yeah, definitely. As seeing this as a kind of backlash, that is quite interesting to talk about the rise of Black Lives Matter and like actually situating that within that kind of broader sort of racist backlash to that, I guess, as well. You know, like with the government sort of they kind of codified that in this sort of war on woke thing, and you've had like legislation like the Nationalities and Borders Bill, which I know you're really active in opposing, and also
Yeah.
I guess like the Overseas Operations Bill. I wonder if there's anything in the bill that you can talk to particularly, maybe again that speaks to that sort of racist backlash as well, that you're particularly worried about, and maybe explain some of the measures that the bill are trying to kind of impose to curtail protest.
Well, there's two things that really concern me. It's giving the police, and let's think about giving the police more powers. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask for it. They don't need it, and they don't want it. So then, what? And if you remember, last year, the Police Federation had a vote of no confidence in Priti Patel. I mean, that's a pretty clear message that to an organisation that is actually racist, to say we don't want your bill and we don't like what you're doing. That was a very clear message. So they don't want it. Nobody asked for it. It's completely unnecessary. The concerning things are extending police powers. So if you look at Black communities, you look at disproportionality in stop and search. I mean, the figures are out there. Do I need to say we're like 10 times more likely to be stopped and searched than our white counterparts? What will happen if those powers are extended? What happens to our communities? Because it has a mental impact on our youth. You know, if you're walking around just going about your daily business, you see a police car and you know you're going to get stopped. That impacts on our community. So that is a concern. And also, you know, even other reasons that we've been protesting, deaths in custody. Lots of Black people have died after contact with the police and nothing happened to them. Very few convictions of police officers for brutalizing or killing Black people. If those powers are extended, what are we looking at? I mean, it's a frightening thought. So that's one of the reasons that we have to continue to campaign against it. The other thing is protest. And this is just, it's not just about being on the street and raising our voices and making it clear what we're unhappy about. It's not just about that. It's that for hundreds of years, we have been using protests to win justice for our communities, organizations, trade unions. Lots of things have happened. We've won lots of justice campaigns because of protests. What happens if we were to sit back and allow that to be taken away? That's our civil liberties. Civil liberties, and it's a human right. Protest is a human right, regardless of what this government says. We simply can't sit back and allow them to take that away. That will affect lots of things.
Yeah, I guess it's about, yeah, it's kind of taking away a key sort of like way in which people enact sort of social change for the better and things like that too. And I think, yeah, 100% right in terms of actually the police already have too many powers. They already abuse them. It's wild that they should be extended even more. Well, yeah, what then can people do to oppose the bill? How can people get involved in the campaign? What can people do to get active and really get out there and show their opposition?
So, you know, this government is probably the most right-wing government beyond Thatcher. We thought Thatcher was the devil. This government here is the most far-right government we've ever faced. But what they do respond to is protests. What they do respond to is big social media and media campaigns. They do respond to that. It frightens them. And so if we know that they respond to that pushback, we need to do more of it. Now we're at our human rights being taken away. I don't think that people in this country are going to tolerate living in that kind of society. I don't think that's a tolerable situation. And now is the time to fight against it. So get involved in all of the campaigns. I think there's going to be a national day of action called shortly for the Borders Bill and the Police Bill. Lots of organisations are talking about it. It can't come soon enough for me, but we need everyone to just join in, because it does make a difference. We all have to send a clear message that we won't tolerate this, and getting on the streets, campaigning and protesting and helping out.
Listen, thanks so much for joining me, and everyone, that's a kind of clarion call to you. Get involved with the campaign, and thanks again, Delia, for catching up with me, and see you soon.
Thanks for having me. See you on the streets.